Chapter 13, Curriculum Planning. Lots to learn in this chapter. Curriculum planning is something that is very important for you to understand and be able to do. And in a lot of cases, you will need to figure out whatever curriculum your current program is using, how to make that appropriate for your children in your class, and how to make it appropriate for the way you teach, right? So, curriculum planning is figuring out what you want to happen and making it happen for the students. And of course, as we are always talking about making things developmentally appropriate, we want to make sure that it is appropriate for the children that you have, both for their level of development, for each individual child, and for the community that you live in. So, for instance, you're probably not going to do, a study of, I don't know, churches, right? If you're not working in a religious preschool, okay? Integrated plans, making sure that the things that you're doing are hitting all areas of the classroom, all areas of learning, all areas of development, putting the plans into practice, and then see how you do curriculum webbing, which you should already know how to do because you've been doing it for your final project. Having children have input, monthly planning sessions, using those 3 M's again, manipulation, mastery, and whatever the other one is. And then, of course, we're following the same pattern with each chapter here. We're talking about how to do it. We're talking about how it fits within the 3 M's, and then how are we recording it and documenting what we're doing, and then planning for individual children. Okay, so all this stuff we're going to go through as we go here. You can't just show up every day and not have any plans, right? You need to, we've talked about this, set up your classroom to let your environment do the teaching, right? Setting up your classroom, your structure, your schedule, all of that stuff, the toys that you put out, that's all part of your curriculum planning. And that's all developed as a way to get the things to happen that you want to happen, right? So you want kids to come in and be independent or learn to be independent. You want kids to come in and have opportunities to work together. You want children to come in and have opportunities to be exposed to a lot of writing and letters and that kind of stuff. So that all has impact on how you set up your room and how you plan for the children. A personal curriculum web, what are the things that child is involved in, interested in? What do we know about this child, right? So you're developing sort of a profile of the child. And then integrated plans, this is exactly what we've done with webbing, right? For the final project, for the project approach. And this specifically links it to learning centers in the classroom. So what are we talking about, and how do we integrate that into each area of the classroom? So in this instance, we're talking about the neighborhood, right? And so what are all the things that we can do in each area of the classroom that relate to that? If your topic is pizza, what can you do in the blocks area that relates to pizza? What can you do in the dramatic play area that relates to pizza? Implementing your plans. Now, when you're doing your final project, what we're working toward is having activity plans based on your topic or theme that go in all of the different activity areas, right? The centers. What are the advantages of curriculum webbing? Well, it helps you reflect on what you know and what you want to know, and how to work with the children based on a particular topic. When you're doing it with a group, when you're doing it with other teachers or your director or whoever, you have an opportunity to all think together. So it's not just you coming up with all of this information, activities, plans, it's a group project. and then you can save it for future reference. When children are part of the process, you need to listen to what they're saying, and what they're saying may change what you thought you were going to do. And that's an important thing as you think about curriculum planning. What you have set up for the day may not be where the kids take you. And so you need to have that kind of flexibility. You need to always be thinking about, what are my learning objectives? When I was setting up this activity, what did I want the kids to get out of it? And if the kids are leading me in a different direction, is there another way that I can tap into their interests to help them make this learning objective? When teachers and children work together to make the curriculum web, it's very interesting, and it helps you know what kids already know about a topic or a theme. So these are just interesting ways to think about planning as a group, as a group of teachers or a center staff. Okay, base plans for individual children on the 3M observations from the Child Interaction Forum. You don't have to use specifically the forms that are provided in your textbook. You can use the forms that you use at your school. You can use forms that work well with the way you work with children. But what you want to do is make sure that your planning is based on what you see the children doing. So your observations, it's a circle. It's a circle that goes around and around and around. You see what kids are interested in and what their developmental needs are, where you can help them go, right? You observe that. And then you make plans based on that. And then you put those plans into place. You observe the children doing those activities that you've planned. And then you make changes based on those observations, right? And it just keeps going. It's a circle that keeps going around and around and around. You're interpreting the observation data to determine the children's needs. And then you are using your knowledge of the children's ordinary behavior in the classroom to decide what you're going to do next, right? Planning for individual children, you want to know what they're interested in, what they've done, what they need, and then come up with some ideas and activities for them. It can sometimes be a thing where teachers split children up, and one teacher has these 5 kids and another teacher has these 5 kids, and they never do observation or documentation or planning across those groups. You need to do that, because the observations and ideas that come from one teacher are great and wonderful, but this teacher may see that child and have all kinds of different ideas and observations. So it's important that you all work together. It's interesting to create long-range plans for each child in each learning center. That seems like a lot of planning for me. So I think in my case, I would prefer to do long-range goals for each child for maybe a semester, and thinking about what centers those children are most comfortable or most interested in. What are some things I can do in those centers for those individual children? And then do it that way. Maybe not each learning center, each child. That's a lot of work. And then you do need to update those as needed, because children learn at different speeds and develop differently. And so what you think may take a month to figure out may take a couple of days. Sharing that with parents and staff. It's important to share this with parents so that they know that you are aware of their children's development and you are working on it. Circle time, group time. I have a problem with circle time because sometimes we don't sit in a circle during circle time. And so why are we calling it circle time when we are at the most important part of children learning shapes and stuff, and then we're sitting in a glob in circle time? So I prefer group time. Anyway, how to help children feel a part of the group. There are a variety of ways to do that, and it is as individual as the individual child, right? Some kids have a really hard time being in group time, and that's okay. They're just not there yet. So find other things that they can do to not be disruptive during group time, And 90% of the time, a typical child, if they are disruptive during group time and you give them an opportunity not to participate in group time, but then you make group time interesting enough, they'll come back to you. Some children, it's just never going to work. And so you need to find ways to accommodate them. Group time can be fraught with anxiety, stress, frustration, especially for the teacher who is leading group time. Some kids love group time and would sit in group time all day long. Some kids can't do group time and you shouldn't try to force them, but you need to find opportunities for them to do other things. And you need to also make sure that your group time meets the needs of, essentially everyone in the classroom. Start with a high interest activity that involves the total group, followed by a calming activity. Sometimes you need to think about that though, because sometimes a high interest activity can really hype people up. And the next best thing after that is to just go outside and run it off. Make sure that you know how your kids are going to react if you do a high interest activity. If everybody's going to keep up that level of energy for the rest of the day while you're trying to do naps and quiet time, maybe that's not the best way to do it. So you have to work with your individual group, right? Group time or circle time is a good way to transition from home to school and from school to home. I used to have a couple of group times in my classroom. Not at the very beginning because people wouldn't always show up at the same time. So we would have sort of free time for the first half hour of the day and then transition to group time because that way everyone could do group time together. You want to talk about what's going to happen that day. Group time is a very important time to talk about your schedule, your expectations, what's going on, talking about what's going to come next. Talking about questions or concerns. And then I would often have a group time at the end of the day as well. So we would just be in group time, talk about what happened during our day. What are we going to do tomorrow as pickup was happening? So we're in group time, we're singing songs, we're doing whatever while parents are coming to pick up. That way also kids are doing something and it's not just crazy running around the room waiting for parents to come. Another thing I was going to say about group time, I'll think about it and remember later. Okay, so like I just said about an end of the day group time, summarize what happened. And then as your staff is gathering at the end of the day, talk about what happened, talk about who did what. This is a great time to take all of your observations and remember what happened or write it down and think about what you're going to do tomorrow. The best thing that you can do is when you get in the door the next day, be ready for that day. If you have to spend your time getting ready for that day that morning, it takes away time from the kids. Be enthusiastic about your curriculum, and children will be enthusiastic too. So don't feel like, oh, we're doing dinosaurs. I know you guys love dinosaurs. Be enthusiastic. Dinosaurs are fun. We can do dinosaurs. And remember that if the kids aren't into it, make sure you have something else that they can do. Some days the kids will be super into whatever you're doing. Some days they won't. A good preschool teacher or early childhood educator has 5 things that they can do at any time to keep the kids engaged, to re-engage the kids, to help them learn and have fun at the same time when the activity that they have planned is not working. So, okay, thanks.